Musicians Institute Guitarcraft Program, sponsor of Fox 17 Rock and Review.
Welcome to the Fox 17 Rock and Review. I've got Paul Childers on here wielding his 59 Stratocaster, sounding great.
Thank you so much.
You know, and
Thank
I want
you.
to talk about, you just had a new album release.
Yes.
We were talking on the news earlier, Naked Poetry. And
out as of April 28th. I'm so proud to finally have it out.
It looks amazing, but but more than that, it sounds amazing. I told you, I've been driving around in my car listening to it.
Which I can't think, and it's so funny, you were like, we were emailing back and forth, you're like, yeah, track 10. And it's always great when someone really dives in, because it's just as easy to say, yeah, music pulls you through, track 1.
Well, it was so funny, because you and I, being gear geeks like we are, you were telling me about the sound effect you were using. I was like going, man, I heard that in the song. I couldn't figure out what kind of pedal you were using.
Yeah, that envelope Filtron thing, and it's so funny, when you have instruments like these, like this is my one kind of guitar on the road, in the studio. Everything as a nucleus was either written on this acoustic guitar,
Beautiful
or
Martin.
The piano I have at home. I mean, it's just so incredible to see it come to life and to again honor it on the record, because a lot of the solos, a lot of the rhythm sections are just this into a Fender Tweed Blues
Well, and that's
Deluxe.
what you were telling me before we came in the studio, that, much like, a lot of the blues masters, like B.B. King and so many of them, you mainly go straight into an amp. You may use a little wah or something once in a while.
I mean, and you wrote the book on this, but B.B. King, he used to joke about, someone would say, man, your tone is so good. What do you have between that guitar and that amp? And he would just be like, a wire.
Exactly.
Because it's the guitar and it's the hands especially, and I've always thought, if you can start there, from that point you can make people feel something.
Right.
Getting that on tape is the crux.
Well, and it's so amazing too. We were talking earlier about your story, and obviously you started playing guitar, as a teenager.
Which I guess is kind of late in the grand scheme of when people normally start playing music. I was going to be in the NBA. That was actually.
But since that didn't work out,
yes,
right, you decided to go the music route. But I think it's so incredible, though. Just talking with you about it, Paul, to where how you started working at a studio.
I was cleaning toilets.
Yeah, and it's almost like Chris Christopherson. To where it's like
I wish it was as romantic.
You're doing the coffee and all this stuff.
But yeah, I was cleaning toilets at a studio called County Q. And at night, they'd let me kind of freelance and bring in other students to help record. And over time, not only do you get better, but people start to hear your work.
Right.
And then you start to say, well, I'm making a record. I want to write. I want to play, And,
well, and you had some great help on producing your album.
Oh, my gosh. Nick Lutz, we call him Ace because that's just everything that he does is top notch.
Yeah.
But he was the producer and kind of the editor. Sometimes as an artist, you fight for ideas, and you fall in love with that 7-minute guitar solo. But you need a man to say, listen, Paul, let's scale it back, do that live.
Maybe this isn't Asia.
Exactly.
Or yes. Maybe
exactly.
we need to,
mainly because I'm not Steely Dan and can't be. Yes. But he was such a great collaborator. And again, I think we've really come up with something that is an alchemy of pop and blues and jazz, because my parents used to listen to disco when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I listened to Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then I found Miles Davis, and I was like, wow, these chord changes and these...
Well, that's what I was telling you earlier before we came into the studio, to where, your music to me sort of defies genre.
Thank you.
I hear elements of your blues, I hear jazz, I hear pop.
I try to be, a musical gadfly, just touching each genre as much. And the main thing is you just can't have the word no in a vocabulary.
Well, but I think what impressed me the most, besides obviously your musicality and the maturity, I thought, of the music, were your lyrics.
Thank you.
It's like, listening, to all the tracks, Paul, they really felt personal.
Well, it's a story. It is the arc of, what's it like to be young and to figure out what you're supposed to be doing with your life. It is a classic, I don't know what I'm doing with my life fairy tale.
Right.
But then you throw in a woman to the mix, and I used to think that would convolute it, but instead it makes the story worthwhile.
Yeah.
And so it's the arc of my relationship with somebody and how things go well, things go wrong. You mess up, together you mess up. It's just very normal.
I think everybody can relate to your lyrics too.
Yeah, and
it's not like it's not like the shallowness of pop. Not knocking pop, mind you, but to me your lyrics
that's a massive compliment. And
they have depth.
I don't have that kind of spark as a writer to where it hits me and I'm done in 10 minutes.
Right.
I wish I could turn it on like a sink faucet, but instead it's 4 a.m. and I'm like, oh no. And then my brother, who's my roommate, is like, please, please.
Now, this is also where the packing for the CDs was at also before the meal, right?
Well, we did a pledge campaign for the record, and
you over-delivered. You had 281% over.
Which, again, so ecstatic. My fans superseded everything I could have thought possible. But when you say, yeah, it's just 500 copies or just 600 copies that we're mailing, it's so easy to say. And then after all the paper cuts and stamp licking and
so you were looking forward to getting back on the road.
Exactly. I was like, oh my God, please let me get back to playing guitar. But again, that's a part of it, and I'm so happy to have had help with my parents, my brother, and it's just, it personally connects you with your fans in a way that I didn't think was possible.
Well, and your fans, man, follow you through all social media.
Everything.
And I wanted to bring it up while I've got you, too, because we were talking, like I said before we came in here, about how you acquired the piano, because you told me about something cool that I didn't know about, and we're from up around the same area. You're from up there in Kentucky, originally, and obviously living in Nashville now, but there's an adopt a piano? What is it?
It's called pianoadoption.com, and I try to tell everybody about this because every piano should go to a good, undusty home.
Yeah.
And it's this website where if it's available, you go pick it up and it's yours for free. People just upload pictures. And so I found one in Lexington, Kentucky from this incredible gentleman. His wife had recently passed. And I could see when we were removing the piano, there was a little bit of a light leaving the room in his eyes. It was it was romantic, but I was also, I was moved by it. And she used to teach to kids. And for free, would teach jazz to kids. And I thought, well, this piano story isn't over.
Right.
And it's going to a good home. And later, once it was moved into my apartment, actually, I should go back. As we were pulling away, he's like, hey, you don't happen to need an organ? And not thinking of the small square footage that I have. I was like, of course I need this organ.
My brother's small. I'll make room.
Of course I need this organ. And it was this beautiful Hammond C3. And he pulled the moving blanket off. The tubes were perfect.
Oh my gosh!
It's got the foot pedals built in, the speaker built in.
Yeah,
that model.
Totally. I know the
and
model.
And so now, it is a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
But it also rests. There's a lamp and
You can eat on that.
Koozies. That's exactly what it's for as well. But I ended up writing a lot of the record on that piano, and it made me a better musician, and it made me a deeper, or at least a more empathetic person.
It found the right home then.
Yeah, when you have something with history, I always think about instruments in general. When you pick them up, it's like, who played this first?
Right.
Even this chair, Tommy Emmanuel was sitting here last week. Like those small things make you so.
Well, and you and I were talking about your guitar too, which I love. The first time I saw a picture of you with this Strat, I was like going, oh my gosh, what year is it? And a mutual friend, Charles
Whitfield,
helped you put this together.
Yes. Absolutely, and he himself, I have one of his Stratocasters, which is made its way onto the record too. The way he builds guitars, Telecasters, Stratocasters, everything, he just has a way. He speaks to the.
He's meticulous.
He is. He knows what you want and what you're after, and then he. I don't know. He just breathes into these things, and they're magical.
Well, now I wanted to talk also about it, Paul, to where you've got a show this Friday at Printers Alley.
Yes, May 12th.
Okay, and then Acme,
we play usually one Saturday a month, which is the hippest club by far in Nashville to play. I'm so honored to have slots there because
and they've got you booked in a bunch, which I thought was incredible.
Through the end of the year, which is just so wild. We play from 8 to 10, and it's so good because people call it a tourist thing, and a lot of the locals are like, "Oh, don't play the tourists." But I look at it as an opportunity. Like, here's a family from Wisconsin that I just infected.
Right.
And they're taking it back with them. They're going back to Philadelphia.
And have a copy of Naked Poetry.
Exactly. Exactly. They can get everything they need, T-shirts.
Now, I got to ask you this, too. Now, when you're playing all the gigs, I know you're on the road a bunch, because we were talking about the NAMM show and the whole limousine thing, which I loved. Does the whole band wear suits? I mean,
we do.
Okay.
We do. I think I've always loved artists that progress fashion. Sinatra comes to mind, Elvis, B.B. King.
Yeah.
When you think about those beautiful coats he would wear, I think you show up for your audience, and again, you're never overdressed for a gig.
Right.
And it's always great, too, when you're finished, everyone's like, oh, yeah, you're the guy in the suit. You played the show. It's just such a great way to constantly, know that I'm representing something that I believe in.
I think it's incredible.
My dad wears a tie to work every day, and I'm not wearing graphic tees like I should be.
I think it shows professionalism. Now, the one last thing I wanted to mention, Paul, was that you had a fan who actually got one of your old guitar strings.
Yes, in Texas. I was in Beaumont, Texas, and I snapped a string on this guitar, which usually retires it for the night. And
it's a strat.
She had, yeah, exactly. She had come up and grabbed the string, and I after the show, I was like, "Hey, I'm taking all these off anyway. You don't want them, do you?" And I didn't really know what they were going to be used for until about a month later. I got a message on Facebook that said, "Hey, I've made this beautiful lapel pin."
Wow.
And completely from the string that broke.
That's amazing.
And has now started an entire Naked Poetry.
And she's on back order.
Yeah, for Naked Poetry jewelry collection.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
Which goes very well with the album.
Yes. The same color of the guitar.
Yeah.
Everything is methodical.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, though, and all kidding aside, Paul, and such a great guest, but, all of the music, I enjoyed all of the tracks on here, and just...
it is an exodus that I hope people will, maybe one speaks to you now, and not this one, not until a month later, not until something changes you, affects you. Maybe the song meaning will change. It happens for me now. Even when I play them live, it's just, I'm learning things that I didn't even know about.
Well, I think your guitar talent too. Bringing guitar back to the masses.
The guitar solo is not dead. I will not let it be. I will not let it be. It's so great to put out a guitar-driven record the way you want to produce it the way you want to, and have people anxious to hear it. I just can't. It's a dream come true, and I'm so proud to be.
Well, and you have made it happen.
Thank you.
Well, be sure and pick up a copy. Great artist, great musician, Paul Childers. It's Naked Poetry. Be sure and get a copy and see him live because the show is unbelievable. Thanks for watching the Fox 17 Rock and Review.
Bye, you guys.
Musicians Institute Guitarcraft Program, sponsor of Fox 17 Rock and Review.